Hello, my name is Sylvester Henderson, and each of you know that I am the CEO of Professor for Life Incorporated, and I am so honored this afternoon to have a gentleman who is wearing two hats now. He works as the Dean of at Riverside Community College, and he also works as the current president of the A²MEND conference. His name is Herbert English. I want to welcome you, President Dean Herbert English. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Sylvester. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Be on the podcast.
Brother, can you, I'll just call you Brother English. You know, okay. Brother English, can you please introduce yourself to our digital media academic world? Tell us where you grew up. Please share your academic journey, and where did you attend college?
For sure. My name is Herbert English. I go by Herb. I grew up locally in California, Southern California. Grew up in Pomona. My mother is from Missouri, where I was born, and my dad is from Texas. My mom and dad met at an Air Force dance. They got married, and 2 weeks after I was born, we moved to Pomona, California. Growing up in Pomona was excellent. I still have friends, childhood friends that I talk to still to this day. I had a really good upbringing, learned a lot, strict parents, as you can imagine. I was very close to my grandparents. My dad's mother lived in La Puente, California, and I spent a lot of time with her and my grandfather. And that was a rich experience, because grandmother's house is the hub. Every aunt, uncle, and cousin would be there almost daily. So it was a good experience. Did my undergraduate here locally, Cal State San Bernardino, bachelor's degree, master's degree from the University of Redlands, and finishing up that doctorate degree at Bradley University in Illinois. I'm currently the Dean of Counseling and Specially Funded Programs here at Riverside City College. And my passion work, my educator passion work, is serving on the executive board for the African American Male Education Network and Development, better known as A²MEND.
Wow. You know what? I met you some many years ago, and as meeting you, with my crazy self, I always just was really drawn to your kindness, and then yet gentle persona, but confident persona. From that standpoint, I want to ask you if you can describe your work and obligations as a dean. What are some of the things that you're responsible for, some of the areas that you oversee, and then tell us about are you enjoying your role and as the current president of the A²MEND auspicious conference.
I got you. And you know this already, but the dean at many community college campuses is, they call us middle management, but I would say that we're the workhorse of the campus. As a dean, I am over the counseling department. I have about 25 full-time counselors under my leadership. Counselors are known as faculty within our system. I also have our La Casa Engagement Center, our Yamoja Engagement Center, and then I lead our Guided Pathways efforts here at the campus. And I would say, as the dean, I have to juggle many things. I have to be the front or on the back end for any student complaints or anything surrounding students. I must balance that with the classified professionals that I manage. I manage about 15 classified professionals as well. And then I have about 20 student ambassadors under my leadership. So being over the counseling department, we are the go-to department on campus. When in doubt, send students to their counselors to make sure that they're in the right classes, make sure they can drop classes to stay on task. If any student is failing or has some concerns, they're always sent to my department, and I uh, I let my counselors know it's not fair, but we have a high bar to reach. I apologize to them daily, but as a counselor, you have to be everything and anything for our students, and sometimes that's a little overwhelming. But I have high expectations, and I expect those under my leadership to reach those, and I have high expectations for myself. But I love what I do. As you know, I truly believe that my passion, or that I'm in the right place, working with students that are trying to better themselves, better their families' lives, but also trying to reach an academic goal that's going to, in turn, be better for their children, and their families. So I totally love my job. I love the ups and downs and the round and rounds. I have a purpose. So the stress of the job is not as mighty as it used to be as I have gotten older. I have the student as my first priority. So it's not too much you can come to me about if it doesn't involve students. My role and my time in A²MEND has been life changing. I'm surrounded by African American males um, that truly inspire me, they challenge me, they hold me accountable, and they make me better. Every man that serves on the board is anywhere from a chancellor to a president to a vice president to a dean. And the centering of our organization is African American male success. As you know, in the California Community College system, African American males are last in every student success indicator, from graduation to transfer to completion of college level math and English. And our organization wants to change that. And how we do that is with our mentoring program, uh, how we work with our young people, we support our young people, we provide our young people with opportunities. We have study abroad where we take students to Africa every summer, try to expose them not only to international travel, but to expose them of the greatness uh, of the continent of Africa by taking them to different countries, really trying to follow that transatlantic slave trade and give them some knowledge that they probably didn't get in elementary school, middle school, and high school, so they can be proud of themselves and proud of their history, proud of their ancestry. Um, but I serve now as the president of A²MEND, which um, has been one of the most challenging things that I've done, um, because you have to be everything to everybody, and you have to manage 13 different personalities. There's all alpha males in A²MEND. Everyone thinks they're right, and they are right in their own way. But it has been a joy to be provided the opportunity to lead. And it's also been a joy to really see myself get better. We all do self-evaluation, but this self-evaluation, juggling my full-time position at a college, but then also juggling my full-time volunteerism in A²MEND. But it's made me a better person. It's really showed me what's important professionally and personally. Um, and over the last maybe 4 or 5 years, I've really, really, really given my family 100% of me, um, and maybe pulled back on my job. I had it backwards a little bit, but serving in A²MEND and serving in a leadership role, it really has shown me what's really important. And in my life, my family is very important. So these two roles that I have now, it took some time. It took some time, but really with self-reflection, it's made me appreciate those that love me uh, for no reason, just love me for who I am. So my family has really, they've always been my priority, but I don't believe that I fully accepted how important family is until my leadership roles that I had. When you come home stressed and upset, family's gonna make it okay.
You know what, President English, you have said some wonderful things about the value of A²MEND, and so because A²MEND, even though it is a social advocacy and academic conference that focuses on men of color, it is also a place that reminds you of many of the great traditions
Mm,
that our ancestors focused on, which was family. So I want
mhm.
to commend you on that. I want to go back
Thank you.
to your dean role at Riverside. You know, you said something that I thought is so interesting, and because you are a dean of counseling, I just wanted to sort of interject this question. Does it ever come up that do the counselors that you work with, do they ever understand how fortunate they are for an academic appointment? The reason I say that is because in the 4-year colleges, counseling is not considered to be an academic division. They are classified employees, and so when you come to the community college, there's a complete difference. You
Hmm.
know, the 4-year roles, counselors are more just like local advisors of
Yes.
looking at catalogs and helping you to understand to read. But in the
Mhm.
California community college system, counselors take up on a very intrinsic um, role and very critical role in terms of helping to shape as guide, especially through a guided pathway, which is a mapping structure. It
Mhm.
really helps the students to shape their destiny and to see their future. Whereas in the 4-year college, it's completely different. So I'm wondering, do you ever have that discussion, or have that ever come up, where the value of counseling in the community college is much more critically acclaimed
Yes.
and much more I don't want to say valuable, but it's seen as a core interest as opposed to a sidebar interest.
Hmm. Yes. And I'm glad you asked that question. Yes. I would even say more now, more now post COVID.
Okay.
Before, it was very stringent. The counseling discipline was very stringent. We could only see people in person, no phone calls, no Zoom. Everything had to be transactional in person. So I believe that counseling really, really, really got a shift on their importance as we went through the nationwide pandemic of the COVID-19 virus, because they had to change how they service students. But what they found is that the person to person modality could still be accomplished virtually. And it was still that ability to build a relationship with somebody and service them for whatever their needs are. And I believe over the last 4 or 5 years, that counseling faculty have really understood or have accepted the important role that they have. And as we talk about their counterparts at the 4 year, how they're really not celebrated right at the 4 year, because it's looked at as just a staff role. Giving the title of faculty on our counseling, like, literally has raised the bar and put them on the same level as an English, math, music faculty member, that they really have a discipline
Okay.
of counseling. And it's just not this kind of uh, class scheduler, that you're really developing a relationship with a student, connecting with that student, and helping them reach a goal, similar to, in the classroom faculty, that students that are majoring in certain majors, they're really connecting with their faculty because they are getting them to the next level of transfer. Counseling is looked at that as well, and I think the counselors have accepted it, and really started, to be honest with you, started advocating for their work. so they can be on the same level, if that makes sense, as an instructional faculty member that has a discipline of math, music, art. They're on that level. And I think COVID-19 really helped that shift.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that truth. Do you interface with faculty as an administrator often? And if so, how do you offer effective support and guidance?
Mm, definitely, definitely. Honestly, you cannot be a good administrator if you are not building relationships with faculty. Faculty are with students probably the most on a college campus, and they are seeing things and hearing things from our students that in most cases we won't hear because we're not with students as much as they are. So uh, I would say building relationships, collaborations, and partnerships with faculty is a big portion, or should be a big portion, of any administrator's role at the campus, because, as you know, you can't get anything accomplished if you are not involving the major stakeholders on campus, and faculty are a very major stakeholder. So I pride myself on the relationships that I've been able to build with faculty. Obviously, in my role, I serve on governance committees, and that's a way for you to meet faculty and really talk about the issues depending on the committee's charge or the committee's mission. So I pride myself on building relationships with faculty. It is very important. It's probably a top priority beside making sure that you are working within the student voice. Building relationship with faculty is paramount. And if you're not building relationship with faculty, I can guarantee you will not be a successful administrator within the California community college system. I think the other one, the other key of building relationships is you're able to understand or learn more about what faculty go through in the classroom, in their departments, but also the workload that they have, which in some cases, folks can assume the faculty's hours of work and those type of things, but you really understand the importance of faculty by getting to know faculty, by building relationships with faculty, and then getting to know what is their passion. Now, obviously, we know their discipline is part of their passion. Obviously, we know that students are a part of their passion, but learning about the things that they like to do outside of work that really make them tick. I've been able to go on conferences with groups of faculty and really learn about their likes, their dislikes, their hobbies, their family structures, their upbringings. That's when you really, really start building real relationships, and really professional relationships, really built on your passion vis-a-vis their passion. And I really think the one unifier for an administrator and faculty is we're all here for the same reason. We are all here to serve and to assist students in their academic journey. And if you build your relationship on that positive plane, only positive can come from that.
That's right. You know what? I just want to add this. First of all, thank you once again for sharing that and your willingness to appear on this podcast. One of the things that I learned in working in two roles is just that when I worked as the dean, I understood that one of the roles of the dean was I was still a faculty professional. It was an extension of the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
When I worked in the classroom, which was the majority of my mega years in higher education, I clearly understood the role was to support students, but as an administrator, you support the policies and procedures that faculty create. So in reality, you've extended the classroom. So the way I look at a good administrator, and you are definitely that, is a person who understands that everybody works as a family unit, that we all work for the same common goal. So thank you for sharing that. I want to ask you, can you kind of talk a little bit about your work as the president of A²MEND and your social advocacy for students of color? Not primarily men, but But students in general.
For sure. And as you know, I want to make sure that I explain, AMEND is an organization comprised of 14 African American male educators in the California Community College system. And I must say it, we're laser focused on African American males, but don't get me wrong, we care about and we support all students of color, females and males, but we really have a priority and a focus on African American males because of the situation in our system with those students. I've been very, very, very excited about the work of AMEND, even as uh, a board member. I've been treasurer, I've been vice president, president elect, and now I'm serving as the president. But when you talk about advocacy, we have been literally at the table for the HBCU Cal Grant. That initiative was birthed through AMEND, and we advocated with several different organizations, UMOJA, Ed Trust West, the Academic Senate, to make sure that African American students could take their Cal Grant to historically Black colleges and universities, because traditionally your Cal Grant can only be used for California schools of higher education. So we worked on that. A very new initiative is the All African Diaspora Education Summit that is chaired by Dr. Edward Bush, who's the president of Cosumnes River College, where we take community college educators to to Ghana to really start learning about African-centered education. Our first year was in 2022, where we took 280 California educators, and then we just had our second biannual conference in 2024. We took 300 educators all around how to better serve African American males, or African American students rather, in the California Community College. Next week, we have Black Student Success Week. That is a total week where we spotlight African American educators, African American students, and we really talk about not only the success of our students, but also things in our system that hinder African American student success. That was birthed out of AMEND, Dr. Keith Curry, Umoja, coming together and seeing what we could really do during Community College Month to really put a spotlight on African American students. And I'm very happy to say the Black Serving Institution Initiative that was approved in August. Now schools can apply just like they can apply to be Hispanic serving institutions. They can now apply to be Black serving.
Oh wow, that's great.
That is,
That's huge.
was at the table for that. And there's a bill that's going to be heard not this month, but next month, funding to be attached to that designation. So Black serving institutions, the application is open now for institutions to apply. Deadline is June 6th. But there's going to be also not only the designation, but schools can apply for funding to make sure that Black students are being served, they're being serviced, they're being supported. So I'm very happy about that. And that's all been, AMEND has been at the table for all of those efforts, making sure that, once again, that we're not forgetting about our African American students and making sure that they have opportunities and support to be successful. So I'm very, very proud of the work that we've done, the work that we've been a part of. And it doesn't stop there. We're going to continue to look at things that are putting roadblocks for our students. We've even, and this is going to come out in the next few months, we have done a Black student report card. We've worked with the RP group and Dr. Darla Cooper, where we have assessed every institution in the California Community College system and provided them with a grade. Their grade is going to be based on how their campuses have been successful in serving African American students. So every institution has been assessed and evaluated, and now they have been given a grade. And we'll be launching that within the next few months. And that is a partnership with A²MEND and the RP Group.
A²MEND, yourself as the current president, and A²MEND, I applaud. I've always loved this institution, and I fully support this institution, and always have, and all of the leaders of it, as you know.
Yes.
And one of the things that I am so proud of, I wish it was during my many years in the system, but when I started, we didn't have sort of things such as this. I remember years ago, I tell people, I said, I've been around the block. Some people say probably too many years, but I've been around the block a long time. I mean, there was a time where you did not have any master's or PhD African American leaders in any institution, hardly. They were very minimal in the CSU system, in the UC system, and even in the community college. And so it's so wonderful to see that what all of you have done. Having said that, how does your management style fulfill some of the goals and principles of the California Master Plan for Higher Education?
Wow. Well, let me say this. I do not prescribe, I do not acknowledge the California Master Plan.
Okay.
I think it's a horrible document. I think it relegates students of color to community colleges and CSUs instead of giving them a choice. But I will say this: my management style, and it's changed over the years, I'm sure, like most people, but it's changed. I am a cross between a servant leader, a progressive leader, and then I try my best, Sylvester, to lead by example. I listen to my people. I give grace in my leadership style. I know for a fact that life is always lifing. So I try to meet folks where they are. I do not treat everyone the same. I treat everyone as an individual, and I try to be what they need me to be at the moment that they need me. And when I wasn't a manager, or I wasn't a supervisor, or when I wasn't a leader, I always knew what I didn't like about my manager or my supervisor, and I told myself, if I ever get the opportunity to lead people, I'm gonna make sure that I don't do the negative things that was done to me. Some people would say, well, if you just stick by the book, you won't, you don't have to really worry about feelings and worry about what happened to somebody before work or after work. But I pride myself on being a realist in the fact that life is always life. And I know people have bad evenings and bad mornings, and then they got to come to work and turn it on. So I want to hear people out. I love people when they give me input. I'm not the smartest in the room every time. I do not know everything. So I love when people give me historical perspectives on things, or they give me maybe things that were done in the past and it failed. I accept all that. But I'm honest, I'm transparent. I tell people all the time, I welcome your input, but at the end of the day, the decision is mine. And I will make it with your input. But I may not, make a decision that you are in line with, but I have to make decisions not only for myself, but everyone that I lead, not one person or one situation. So I pride myself on that. The door is always open. Only time my door is closed is when I'm in a meeting. I have an open door policy, and what that means is if you got something to talk about, I'm here for it. I don't push people out the door when I got to run to a meeting. I hear them out. and that, that's, some of that servant leadership. But I, I think about how to be better daily. So that's that progressiveness, that I'm always looking at how to do things better, how to, work smarter, not harder. Um, I'm usually not going to be here. I used to be the first car in the parking lot and the last car in the evening. Mental wellness is so important right now for me that no, and that's why I think I can understand when people are having a hard day or having a bad day. I'm able to accept it. I'm able to tell them, hey, tomorrow will be better, and we move on. But my leadership style is a culmination of many years, not as much as you, but many years in higher education. So I give grace. I'm a servant leader, but I'm also very progressive, and I lead by example.
Well, I appreciate your honesty regarding the California Master Plan for Higher Education. I've always viewed it sort of in a by inquiry stage. I'm not even sure if that's a certain if that's a word or a phrase or what have you. But I've always viewed it as being a document that had a lot of distinguished phrasings inside of it, but I've always felt it was very discriminatory
Mm-hmm.
in its creation and structure. And basically, what it does is that it labels the community college as less than equal
Yes.
institution.
Yes.
But I think that is a matter that's going to have another podcast. But I wanted to publicly say that because it does. It
Thank you.
really, if you read it, it really labels the community college as you are a lower level institution. So what that does is that then ranks us in relationship to the CSU and UC system as being less than in every aspect.
Mm-hmm.
And so that becomes problematic. I have just a couple of more questions.
For sure.
Who influenced you to want to become a great leader and administrator? Was it just
Mm.
your natural passion? Was it your family? Whether it was the relationship you established with many of your men colleagues, or who kind of influenced you to want to become who uh, Dean English is and Amen President English?
Mm. Wow. Never been asked that way before, Sylvester. Great question. Um, and I'm gonna go back a little bit. As I told you, my mother is from Missouri and my father is from Texas. One of the things that I duplicated that my parents did is I had a good relationship as a child with my grandparents.
Okay.
And one of the things I got to do, Sylvester, was really, and I love this to this day. Like I love sitting with my elders and listening to stories of the 30s and the 40s and 50s. And I really listen, especially when they talk about historical events, JFK being assassinated, Martin Luther King being assassinated, things like that. The Watts riots. My grandmother would tell me about the Watts riots when she moved from Texas to LA. And I really, like I said, I've never really been asked this question before, but I want to say, Sylvester, that learning about my history, learning about um, my grandparents, I think that is what really, really pushed me into leadership. They would they would just talk about the struggle that they went through. My grandfather, my mother's father, I'm talking about a little kid. He would tell me things like a mind is a potent weapon, and he just had these sayings. And as a kid, you don't really understand it, and you get bigger and you get older, and you're like, okay, I'm starting to understand that. My grandfather worked on the railroad for 40 years. But he was a community activist back when black men, it was very segregated in Missouri. My grandfather fought to have a housing project built, housing projects have a bad connotation, but back then you had folks that could not afford housing. So, a low cost apartment would be built. My grandfather did that. My grandfather did something that most black people didn't want to do in Missouri. When the schools were integrated, my grandfather did not send his kid to the all black high school. He sent his kids to the integrated high school because he knew that life was going to change and he wanted to make sure that his children had, uh, right or wrong, he he made that point to say that the high school is being integrated. My kids are going to go there. Now, if you ask his children that was tough for them, but he made that decision. Um, my grandmother, my grandmother said something at a family reunion one time, and I was like in high school. My grandmother said, "I have never been on welfare. Me and my husband worked hard and took care of our children." And this is nothing against folks on welfare, but these kind of things just stuck with me. Just have always stuck with me. My grandmother worked at a car wash. She was a maid. My dad told me one time, I didn't verify it, but he said my mom, my grandmother had a baby on Wednesday, was at work on Saturday.
That's right.
And just those type of things. And like I said, not until this day, literally just now, as you were asking the question, it's those relationships, and all my grandparents are gone now. But just think about how I can still sit and about conversations that we had. And I'm talking about, I can remember conversations at 8 years old, 9 years old with my grandparents about how to act, about how college was important, about how being a good person was important. Um, them telling me several times, you got to be better. They would call me Herbie. Herbie, you got to be better. You got to be 10 times better than them. We know who them is, but they would say that. And it's funny because growing up in, I had one set of grandparents in California, one set of grandparents in Missouri, and that message was the same. And all my grandparents told me that I could be something when I grow up. They would always say that. Always, Herbie's gonna make something of himself. Herbie's gonna be something. And even when, most people didn't think I was gonna be something, my grandparents really put that in me. Um, so I would have to give full credit to my grandparents, because they seen something in me before I did.
Wow.
And I have to give them the credit because they would just talk to me like I was an adult when I was a kid. And their stories of struggle and how things have gotten better in their eyes and how I need to take advantage of every opportunity that I have. But I can tell you, they always told me to be a good person, and they always told me to work hard. Um, and then I would say, like I said, having bad management really told, I was complaining. I want to say it was my father. I was complaining, and he stopped me and said, "Well, you know how you can change that, right?" I was like, "How am I going to change that? This guy is on me every day." He was like, he said, "You gotta become a leader, become a supervisor, become a manager, and you change that for others." So that combination of my grandparents and being challenged to be more, I wouldn't say be more, but to be a leader, I think I have to attribute that to that. And I'm truly blessed because I know everyone doesn't grow up like I did, but having four grandparents that had similar struggles, similar lives, um, really put in us that we could be great. And I'm saying, when I say us, all my cousins had access to my grandparents. And some of us listened and some of us didn't. Uh, but I could say they put me on this path.
Wow. Sounds like what you've expressed, in addition to your great love for your grandparents and your family and your parents, your own natural parents, what you've expressed is the support that families need in order for
Mm,
our professionals, but especially men of color, to
mm.
face some of the challenges, which is my next question. What challenges quickly have you faced as a man of color in education? Just some general challenges.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. We have an equity institute on my campus, and they wanted us to do a cultural introduction, and I did mine the other day. And I won't read all of it, but this is what I said, and I'm gonna say it really quickly. I am an endangered species. America has tried to get rid of me since 1619. I defy all stereotypes. I was raised in a two-parent household. My dad and mom were strict, protective, and instilled in me that I had to work 10 times harder to be great. I raised my children, and I've been married since 2000. My mother is from Missouri. My father's from Texas by way of Los Angeles. I'm from the great city of Pomona, and I was my grandmother's favorite. I don't know where I am from originally, as most of you, because my ancestors were stolen from Africa. I'm a proud educator, father, son, husband, uncle, and mentor. That was my cultural introduction, and I think that encapsulates the question that you asked as best as I could.
It does. It says it's from a heartful way of answering. Thank you. What community work have you accomplished? And I've been careful with this question, and I've asked it different ways. But what community work have you accomplished for the improvement of the protected classes with respect to the current equalized support for all?
Mm.
And you know what? I could have said in respect to the current DEI movement, but you know what? Trying to be trying to be uh, trying not to relate my views. I just said equalized support for all.
Yeah,
Now that
yeah.
could be DEI for you or someone else, but I'm just trying to figure out what are some of the things that you've done to improve protected classes or the underprivileged, in addition to what you've done through A²MEND. Um, I would like to hear a little dialogue about that.
And I'm glad you. That's once again a great question. I have been, as I told you, I went to Cal State San Bernardino. So a lot of my undergraduate work and then postgraduate work, I remained in the city of San Bernardino, loved it. I got connected with the Boys and Girls Club. I got so connected with the Boys and Girls Club that I eventually started working for the Boys and Girls Club. On the board. I served on the board of directors. I was the president of the board of directors for the Boys and Girls Club. So that is my foundational working in the city of San Bernardino, working on the west side, which most people know is probably one of the most poor sections of San Bernardino, serving the youth. We had a Boys and Girls Club that was open 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday. And that's where you would find me working with students, high school students that were told they would never get into college. I said, nah, I'm gonna work with you and get you into college. We had a charter high school at the Boys and Girls Club. So we had toy giveaways for Christmas. We had food giveaways for Thanksgiving. We, the local city would pass out food every week at our Boys and Girls Club. Saturdays, I would come and open up so the kids would have somewhere to be safe, swimming, basketball, the whole 9 yards. So the Boys and Girls Club is my claim to fame as far as my volunteer work. I'm a member of a fraternity, so I do mentoring with Kappa Alpha Psi. I help with the fires and providing people with toiletries and food and whatever they needed, blankets and coats. We just packed. So I mean, volunteering is at my core. We just packed blankets for survivors of correctile cancer. So at the core of me is community service. I love to give back. It slowed down a little bit, like I told you before, because I'm a grandfather. So I try to spend a lot of time with my grandchildren. I have a granddaughter named Mila and a grandson named Joseph. So I try to give them a lot of my free time, but at the core of me is working within the community and giving back. And just like education uh, gives me some excitement and some purpose, giving back to the community is the same thing. I love it. I totally love it. Like anybody could call me and say, "Hey man, we gonna wash cars Saturday." If it's for a good purpose, I'm there, and I just get a connection, right? I get a connection, from the community that just cannot be duplicated. It is so good to give to others. So good to give to others, especially those that are less fortunate than myself.
Well, you know what, my dear friend, you've had so many wonderful opportunities, and you've opened your heart because of your family, and your family structure gave you the internal ability to open your heart and to develop a passion and love for people, uh, which has really served you well. I can see why so many people admire and love you and respect you,
Thank you.
because you have a wonderful heart, and you've done a lot and will continue to do a lot, not only through your role as a dean, but your advocacy volunteerism role as the president of A²MEND, and just your overall role of being a beacon of life for people in general. Having said that, I want to simply ask you one final question. Please discuss your goals, future projects, and innovations, and just kind of share any other thoughts and ideas you would like to communicate.
For sure. Um, One of my major goals is to get to retirement. Is to get to retirement. No, professionally, and I've been going back and forth with this. Professionally, um, I would really like to pursue a presidency, and what I
Okay.
mean by that, obviously, a presidency of a community college. I am hopeful, very hopeful that one day that we can get it right. And what I mean by that is we know it's been much research, it's been much talked about. There's been many successes at different colleges across the United States of how to better serve students. And what I'm hoping is that I can inspire and challenge and support faculty, classified professionals, and administrators to really do what we say in our mission. And I say hopeful because the reality of it is it may not happen. But I remain hopeful that I can lead an institution and be a model for other colleges. I do not believe people wake up to hurt students, um, but I do believe that we do hurtful things to students. So I want to change that. I really want to change that because so many people utilize the California community colleges to reach their goal. We are the cheapest uh, educational institution of higher learning. So we have the bang for your buck. We open access. We accept everyone. So leading an institution to be a model for other institutions it's not for myself. It's really to show people that it can be done. It would definitely be a challenge, but I'm up for the challenge. Um, I want to, you talk about innovation. My proudest moment in education, and I talked a little bit about it earlier, was how we as an educators responded to going remote during the pandemic. There were so many things, as you know. Oh, we can't do this, we can't do that. But during COVID, we did it. We did everything that we said for years we could never do. You can't give
Right.
you can't give students tablets. That's a gift of public funds. You can't give students hotspots. There's a bill associated with that every month. Who's going to pay that? Well, we did it. We just did some phenomenal things. We can't be a remote serving institution. We do. We're traditionally a face-to-face organization, but we did it. That was my proudest moment because the arguments all led to progress.
Wow.
Going back and forth. So my innovation is being able to take some of what we did in the pandemic and just make it instituted as a normal way of doing business. We did not say no for 2 years.
We did not.
We did not say no. We said yes, yes, yes. If it's for students, do it. And don't do it now, do it right now. We did it. And that's the innovation I want to get to because I'm seeing more than no, I'm seeing it. We are slowly but surely moving back to status quo. After we saw the amazing things that we were able to do, nobody cared about union contracts. Nobody cared about if I'm going to get paid. We just did it and let all that other stuff take care of itself. And obviously, there's a little bit more branches to that tree, but that's what I want to get to. And that is, and I didn't say earlier, I should have. I work at the college, the community college that I attended. If you would have told me in 1995, January of 95 is when I attended a Riverside City College. If you would have told me then that you're going to make what you make, you're going to have this position, when I tell you, I would have laughed you down the street. I just didn't even have that as a goal. And over time, I developed it. So I would love to lead an institution and lead it by starting with, let's be a model for other colleges. Whatever that takes, let's do it. Let's commit to it and let's do it. And the innovation part is, what can we take from that pandemic and institute that in our institution so we can be better for students?
You have expressed my deepest center and core of my passion. I am so honored to have had you on this podcast. You are an amazing professional man, but more so than being an amazing professional man, you're an amazing human being. And so very few people really understand the core of education. The community college is one branch of it, but students are at all the campuses. Community college, UC 4-year, Ivy League, wherever you go to learn, and after K through 12, as far as I'm concerned, the heart of the academics or the leaders should be similar to what you said. So I'm going to challenge you as you are going to reach your penultimate goal. And if the goal never comes, documented in a book so someone else can take it and they can now see it.
Exactly.
Because everything that you've said is just wonderful. As the CEO of this organization entitled Professor for Life Incorporated, I do want to thank you, kind sir.
Thank you.
Dean English and President.
Thank you so
I
much.
want to thank you for taking the time out of your schedule. Please give your college a big hug. Many of your academics at your college I know well. And please share a wonderful hello and happy Easter to you and your family.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Same to you, Sylvester. Thank you.
God bless you.
God bless you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right, brother.